I think a lot of people feel a sort of sympathy for President Biden as being a dad in this role. Do you think, because President Biden did say he's not going to pardon his son, is there any indication if he loses the election, that pledge would change?
Well, most people don't think that a first time felony offense like this would lead to a jail sentence, or if it did, it would be a very short one. And the political downside, not only of pardoning your son, but doing so after you said you wouldn't, would be a real problem. I think, of course, you could commute the sentence if it were longer, and he has not been asked, as far as I know, and has not declared what he would do on a commutation. That doesn't erase the sentence. It says, okay, you've been sentenced to a year. We're going to let you off with time served or only a month. But the problem here isn't just that Hunter Biden bought a gun. The problem is that he left the gun open next to some drugs, apparently, in a place where children could get a hold of it. That's why it was found and then disposed of in a public place where anybody could have grabbed it. So there's some unhappy, extenuating circumstances here, but I would still be surprised if there were anything more than a modest, at most, jail sentence and probably only probation. But there's another felony tax case coming up in Los Angeles in July, and the fact that you're already a convicted felon can affect the sentencing or whatever is done there. That's a separate case. But the other point to make here, Brittany, is that Joe Biden was in no way involved in this gun case. There's no evidence that he played any role whatsoever in the case. Now, you can say that the presence of such a powerful figure is why they didn't bring the case initially. They were humiliated into bringing it. And that is an indirect role, but we don't have any fingerprints of the president on that decision.
These are charges in connection to a gun, as you said. Just hours after the verdict came out, President Biden is speaking at an Everytown gun event. And I want you to talk about the appeal for us and talk to us about how that connects to the Second Amendment.
Well, the Second Amendment is one that deeply divides the country. Not so much on constitutional interpretation, except at a very high level. If you've got friends, I live in a university community. Everybody seems to be a law professor, but and there is a little complication in the amendment because it begins with a clause about a militia being important to protect the country. Assuming away the importance of that clause, then the question becomes what kind of restrictions, if any, can be placed on the purchase of these guns. And what makes this interesting is that it's been the Democrats who've been so strong about gun regulation. And now you have the president's son who's convicted on a gun charge. I should say that the upcoming case, which we mentioned a little earlier, very briefly, the tax case, is also one that presents a kind of irony for the high tax, everybody should pay their fair share, nobody should get away party, which is the Democrats, and now you have the president's son in that. So the Supreme Court, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is the Supreme Court has not made any decisions related to restrictions like, can you stop somebody who is addicted to drugs? And what does that mean? What does it mean to be addicted to drugs? There are some drugs that don't seem to be addictive, but are, or are only mildly so, but are not classified at the same high level as, say, crack cocaine. By the way, Abby Lowell's defense was kind of like that Bill Clinton I don't know what is means. It was, okay, he's using it the day before. He's using it the day after. That doesn't mean he's on it at the time. So they may have a constitutional case here, but getting a constitutional case all the way up to the Supreme Court, that's a big deal. And, it takes a long time, and they may not take it. I think there's a case coming to the court about alcoholism and gun purchases, but it'll be interesting because the Republicans will be the ones defending Hunter Biden's constitutional rights, and the Democrats will be the ones attacking his right to win on that issue on appeal.